I'm Gary Bembridge. This is another of my cruising tips for travelers. I want to talk about what Seabourn Cruises does differently to other ultra-luxury cruise lines out there. Seabourn was founded over 30 years ago. It's part now of the big Carnival Corporation. So obviously that includes other cruise lines like Holland America, Princess, Carnival of course, AIDA, a whole bunch of other cruise lines. Seabourn is a small ship, ultra luxury cruise line. And so its main competitors are things like Royal Caribbean's Silversea cruise lines and Norwegian cruise lines Regent 7C. They have a relatively small fleet with 6 classic cruise ships and 2 expedition ships on their way. In the classic fleet, they're all suite ships and they range in size from 458 passengers to 600 passengers. It's an elegant but casual experience on board. So let's take a look, first of all, at what Seabourn does very differently to the other ultra-luxury cruise lines. And then I'll take a little look at what they do the same. One of the big signatures on Seabourn is known as Seabourn Square. It's something that I'm calling out right at the beginning of this because I think it's a really great and a very simple innovation, but it really works well. It's the hub of the ship. And they've created on all their ships Seabourn Square, which is where they've brought together their guest services, their future cruise sails, their shore excursions, and it's a really great lounge area. There's a really nice cafe bar there where you can get great specialty coffees, which are all included in the fare, drinks, which are also included, their little snacks there during the day. They also have all sorts of other things in here. So for example, you can play games in here. They also have the press reader service where on the various devices you can read papers from all around the world. It's a great hub. It's a great place to go. The shops are in here, so it's very social. It's the real buzz part of the ship, and it's great to go and sit in there. You'll catch up with people, meet people. So Seabourn Square is definitely something that's a signature of Seabourn, and they do very differently to other cruise lines. The second thing that Seabourn does very differently is the partnerships that they have. They have a whole range of partnerships covering many, many aspects of activities and dining on board the ship. So let me talk about the ones that they do that are very different. First of all, one of the partnerships they have is in entertainment with Sir Tim Rice, the famous lyricist. And he has created a show which is rolling out across all of their fleet, which is called An Evening with Sir Tim Rice. And here it brings alive famous songs from a wide range of musicals, and it's narrated by him. In the dining area, they have a partnership with a very well-known celebrity chef and restaurateur, Thomas Keller. And you see his influence in a number of ways across the ship. So they have a very specific restaurant, which is called The Grill by Thomas Keller. But he has also created dishes which are in the main restaurant and even in the informal dining in the colonnade, out on the patio. So right across the restaurant, you'll find dishes which are created by Thomas Keller. They also have a partnership in the whole wellness and fitness area with Andrew Weil. He's very well known in the US, and they run a whole lot of fitness classes, wellness classes, yoga, mindful classes. On board, they have a very specific person running that program, which is the Mindful Living Coach. When it comes to drink, they have a partnership with a mixologist called Brian Van Flandern, and they have a whole new menu of really fantastic cocktails right across the ship. Two of the partnerships which I am really big fans of are the following. First of all, they have a partnership with Molton Brown, which create the most amazing toiletry products, and they have a very specific Molton Brown Seabourn product with its Seabourn fragrance, which you have in your cabin and around the ship. The second partnership, which I think is a really great one, when it comes to excursions, which they have a partnership with UNESCO. This shows up in a number of different ways. There are over 250 shore experiences across the fleet, covering 170 UNESCO designated sites. There are 2 groups of excursions that are created in partnership with UNESCO. The first of these are excursions that were specifically created as a result of this partnership, and these are called the Seabourn World Heritage Tours. And here they will go and visit different UNESCO sites, and on some of them you'll actually have a real expert. From, for example, one I went on recently, we had a lecturer from one of the local universities taking us around some of the historical sites. The second group of excursions are called Seabourn Discovery Tours. So these are tours that did exist to often World Heritage sites, but have now been enhanced and added to with more influence and more input from UNESCO. Also, depending on the cruise you're on, speakers will be brought on board with specific UNESCO heritage and knowledge, and they will run lectures as part of the Seabourn Conversations program. Seabourn Conversations being the ongoing enrichment program that takes place across all cruises on Seabourn. So Seabourn has some partnerships with real leading lights in their area to influence and bring alive in a different way the onboard experience on the ships. The other thing which is very unique and different on Seabourn is a couple of special events or signature events that they have. And the two I want to talk about is, first of all, Evening Under the Stars. These are events out on the pool deck, and it's sort of like a big food hall is created and all the officers serve you. So there's lots of different stations out on the deck and a huge range of food, desserts, all sorts of things going on, cocktails being made, and it's one of their big signature events, and it will normally happen at least once on a cruise. The other big signature event that Seabourn have, which tends to happen in places like the Caribbean, is Caviar in the Surf, where they will come up with beautiful silver trays, caviar on, and serve it, as the name suggests, right there on the beach in the sea. The next area that Seabourn does slightly differently to the others is in the area of specialty dining. And there's two things that I really want to draw attention to. And again, it differs a little bit based on what ship you're on. First of all, you have that grill by Thomas Keller. This is really a way of recreating the famous American diner and the menus of the 50s and the 60s, and he has reinvented many of the famous dishes, and it's a really beautiful venue on most of the ships, beautiful decor, so it's a really great place to dine. It's a specialty dining and it's included within your fare. The other specialty dining option which I really like is sushi. So they have a sushi restaurant on many of the ships, and it's again included in the fare. It's open most days for lunch, open for dinner, and magnificent sushi, and certainly it's normally hosted and run by Japanese real sushi masters. So let me talk a little bit now about some of the things that Seabourn do extremely well, but are quite similar or the same as some of the other ultra luxury cruise lines. Well, first of all, let's talk about the overall experience. It's ultra luxury, it's very premium, it's elegant, and it's refined. This is very similar to the other competitors. So the cruising experience is fairly traditional. You'll find on board the ships, even the smaller ships, there's a good passenger to space ratio. There's a very high crew to passenger ratio, so you get very high levels of service. The service is not stuffy, it's quite informal, it's very immaculate and smart, but it is not fussy and in your face. You have high quality food, you have a very luxurious experience. Everything's very premium, very detail conscious, and very, very high quality, as you'd expect for an ultra luxury line and the sort of fares that you're paying. The dress code, as with the others, is elegant, it's relatively casual, so there's not lots of dressing up, and people will tend to dress quite smartly, but it's not a very strict formal dress code. Most evenings are called elegant casual. You will have the gala formal nights, but again, it's not massively dressed up. You might find people dressed up in suits and ties, but it's not overly formal. As with all the other ultra luxury lines, the fares are pretty all-inclusive, so you'll find your drinks, specialty teas, coffees, dining, all that's included. Gratuities are all included. The only things you're going to find extra will be Wi-Fi and excursions. They are really the only extras that you're going to have on board. When it comes to accommodation, it is all suite accommodation. What they don't have, which some of the other lines have, is butlers in every single suite. You don't have butlers for every single suite, but it is an all-suite experience. And on the new ships, it's also all balcony experience. The other thing which is fairly similar is, like many of the ultra luxury lines, it's moving into expedition cruising. It did do some itineraries which would head down, say, into the Antarctica region, but it didn't have the size of ship where they're able to do landings. They're now moving into expedition cruising specifically. Seabourn are an ultra luxury small ship cruise line. They do a whole bunch of things that are very different to their competitors. I love Seabourn. It's a really beautiful experience. Great ships, great service, and those little extras are really quite fantastic. Remember, I have loads more videos with lots of stuff about cruising, Seabourn, all sorts of cruise lines. So why don't you watch another one of those right now?